Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Not So Ideal Muslima podcast. I'm your host, Smina Bibi, and today I want to share something deeply personal and close to my heart. And that's my journey with Salah. You might call it namaz, you might call it prayer, whatever name you get it, right? Here is the story that I've been on so far. And it's a journey that has shaped my life in so many ways. And I hope that by sharing it, you'll find comfort and inspiration in your own relationship with prayer. So let's go back to the beginning. Now, my earliest memories of prayer are filled with warmth and comfort. And I can still see myself as that little toddler bouncing up and down beside my grandma as she prayed. And sometimes I'd even drift off to sleep when she went into sujood. I didn't know it then, but those moments were actually the seeds of my spiritual journey, and they were being planted in my heart at that point. Now, growing up, I attended the masjid, but there wasn't much emphasis on teaching us how to pray at that point. Our lessons focused mostly on learning the Quran, and at home, life was pretty challenging. My mother was battling cancer, and she'd lost her eyesight when I was really young. So most of our family's energy was devoted to her care. And everything else, and that's including teaching me how to pray, took a back seat, which at that point I can completely understand. It wasn't, though, until my teenage years that I began to really confront my lack of knowledge about Salah. And I love my grandma. She was a woman that taught me so much about my faith through her actions. Because of how hectic it was at home, and because of all the questions I used to ask her, she sent me to an all-girls boarding school. And in there, all the girls would pray together in the hall 5 times a day. But I didn't even know how to do that. And I still remember the embarrassment, the snickers from some of the other girls. But there was one person, though, and that was my settling in buddy, who took the time to teach me. Her patience and kindness have stayed with me all these years. But even then, prayer often felt like a task, and mostly a task to avoid punishment rather than to connect with Allah. Because if we used to miss a prayer, we'd get detention and we'd have to stay behind probably for like 2-3 hours. It was a crazy period in our life growing up. And I think it was about when I was 15, I had this brief period where I felt this deep connection with Allah. It was absolutely beautiful and powerful, but it was also very fleeting. Fear and my struggle to regulate my emotions ended up causing that connection to just fizzle away. And I was feeling really lost and unsure of how to find that sense of peace again. It was literally in the summer of 2003, and I just could never forget those moments. Like, the world around me was crazy, and I was still going through all the crazy. Yet, because prayer is made in such a way that you're praying at different intervals through the day, I kept on finding that love and calm. And then as I moved into adulthood, prayer just became more of a routine than a meaningful practice. Life got busy, marriage, children, a full-time job as a primary school teacher. For nearly 10 years, Salah just slipped away from my routine. My priorities were all over the place, and it showed. Anxiety and panic attack. See, every episode I definitely always have that little moment, don't I? And yeah, so anxiety and panic attacks were becoming really frequent, and I felt like I had lost control over my life. But then it was in October 2020 that something changed. I remember the moment where once again my forehead touched the ground, and it was like coming home. My life did like a complete 360. I reconnected with Allah in a way I had never done before. And now, Alhamdulillah, that connection is so much more easier to tap into. It brings me calm, it brings me peace, and it gives me the strength to face whatever comes my way. And I want to take a moment to reassure you that you're not alone on this journey. Prayer is such a beautiful part of our lives, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. It's really, really important, right? Allah's made it compulsory. Yes, for sure. Yet there are also so many other ways to connect with Allah. Like when you're on your period or you've just had a baby, remember it's Allah who gives you permission to rest from the physical act of worship. His mercy is guiding you to what is best for you, even when the world is still pulling you away in every direction. On days when guilt tries to creep in, telling you that you should be working or that you're indulging in too much joy, I want you to remember that simply being present, taking care of yourself, and spending time with your family, they're all forms of worship too. Whether you're having a cup of chai with your loved ones or you're splashing in the sea, you are worshipping Allah by living your life with gratitude and mindfulness. So, my dear listeners, as you go about your day, remember to find balance in your worship. It's not just about the acts of prayer, but also about the moments of joy, reflection, and rest. Remember that Allah is with you every step of the way on your journey, guiding you towards peace and fulfillment. Jazakallah so much for joining me on this deeply personal episode of the Not So Ideal Muslima. I hope my story in some way inspired you in your own spiritual journey. And why not write it down? And if you're feeling brave, you can share it over on Instagram and tag me. I'll leave the details below of my Instagram handle, or if you want, you can always email it as well at info@minaandcolimited.com. I'll leave both the links in the show notes below. And stay tuned for more empowering episodes. Until next time, my friend, Assalamu alaikum.